If you aren't already using AI as a business owner, as a communicator, as a leader, I'm sorry to tell you, but you are behind. AI is an incredibly powerful tool that has become what seems like the only thing that we're all talking about right now. It can write our content, it can it can automate our systems, and it sounds pretty convincing when we ask it the most basic questions and when we also ask it the harder questions that we can't seem to answer ourselves. But there are three things I'm going to talk about in today's video that will never be able to be replaced by AI because of our competitive advantage as human beings. And if you're a leader, a business owner, an entrepreneur, you must understand how to get ahead on these three things so these can be your competitive advantage against AI. They all start with C and they all come back to the powerful tool that we convey as human beings when it comes to communication. Hi, my name is Christina Crowley-Arklie. I'm a business coach, entrepreneur, and communication strategist who helps highly ambitious entrepreneurs build burnout-free businesses through their leadership and how they communicate. Now, there's been a lot of talk lately, especially this year heading into 2026, about how AI is going to take over. Now, I don't know when that is going to be or how that's going to feel, but it makes me wonder and start thinking all the time lately about what will AI never be able to do that is going to keep us on top of the food chain? Because there's been a lot of conversation and articles lately that are saying that soon AI will replace humans and it will put AI at the top of the food chain. Now, I want us to flip that question though of what AI will never be able to do and ask, what will humans never be able to outsource? What are the things that we as humans have or convey or are that we cannot outsource to something like AI, which is a large language model? Now, I really don't believe, and quote me on this, you can hold me to it years from now, that I don't believe AI is going to replace human beings. I believe it's going to be able to amplify humanity and our experience, but it's never going to be able to fully replace our experience as human beings and put it at the top of the food chain because of these three C's I'm going to talk about. Now, these all come back to the things that I believe are our superpowers and our strengths as human beings. Things that come back to the feeling and emotion side of our experience as a human that AI doesn't have yet, but I don't think it's ever going to be able to have. It's things like judgment and values and courage and the lived experience and our perception of things that is a gap that I don't think AI is going to ever be able to fill. Now, AI is not an enemy, it's a tool, and we need to see it as a tool. Now, I know there's a lot of conversation about people who see it as this really big bad thing, and then there are the people who absolutely have embraced it and loved it, and it's like taken over their life and business in certain ways. I'm trying to find that happy medium between understanding both worlds because, as just recently, I had a client who was teaching and talking to me about how the data centers that house the data for the AI models are so big and so large in certain states in the US, as an example, that they need a significant amount of fresh water to cool them, and that is becoming a climate change issue. That is something I had never even thought of and I hadn't heard about. So I had started doing my own reading this week to make sure that I was staying atop of continually learning about AI. Now, have I embraced it in my business and created certain ways it can help with efficiency and productivity? Absolutely. But I've also seen ways in which I've tried to use it as a tool, i.e., in content writing, and it hasn't felt like it has kept me, Christina, and my voice and truly my language and the way I write when it's writing content. And so I've had to decide to not use it as a content writing kind of specialist as one of the tools that I use in my business. So I think trying to get us to see that AI is not necessarily the enemy, but it's also not going to fully replace us, and trying to find that happy medium in the middle where you understand both worlds is a really strategic and valuable place to be. Now, I really believe that the real fear for us when people who say or think that AI is a huge enemy is the fear around how AI is going to replace us as humans. And the real risk is us as humans outsourcing the parts of ourselves that matter most. And the three C's I'm going to talk about are the things that I don't believe we will ever be able to outsource truly in a full capacity that we as humans so brilliantly live day to day. And all these come back to, like I said, communication. Now, the first C relates to its creativity. Now, when I use AI as a tool, as a business tool for my business. I love the ideas that it generates. I love the patterns that it connects, the data that it's able to bring forth, and how it's able to remember so much of what I ask it to think about and talk about and create. But really, it doesn't create from the same place or space that I do as a human. And that's because of the lived experience that I have as Christina. And I think that comes from, we as humans, when it comes to creativity, it comes from us being curious and, that intuition that's there, that tension that we feel in both good and bad situations, that lived perspective that we have, that all kind of funnels into a fully creative experience as humans. And AI, while it's amazing at data, it looks back at patterns and connecting data. We look forward as human beings with a lot of that creativity and the hope that comes around what we use our creativity for. And so, the first thing I think about when it comes to creativity and this first C that AI won't be able to replace, this for me comes back to how we strategize ideas, how we storytell, how we show up and lead with that creativity that we have that won't ever be able to be replaced by AI. Now, the second C that I don't think AI is ever going to replace is really important, and this one is character. Now, when we say you need to live and be as authentic as possible, a lot of people say, well, what does that even mean? And the word that I love to attach to authenticity is character, because I think we can understand character more than we can authenticity. And really, what this comes back to is that there really is only one of us. There's only one Christina Crowley-Arklie in this entire world that has the same set of values that I have, the certain set of judgment, a certain type of integrity, a certain type of perspective. Only one lived experience that I have through all the good and bad things I've been through. And consistently over time, that has built who I am and the character that I have. Now, while AI can sound confident and it can make us believe that we can maybe be replaced, it doesn't have character. And that is one of the biggest things I think that we as human beings need to continually leverage as a competitive advantage, because this is what it all comes back to when it comes to character. That our character is how we build trust with others. And that is how we seek out credibility with others, when they finally trust us, when they connect with us. And then that's when we can ultimately end up having a conversation or do business together. And so trust is built when our words match our actions, when our decisions reflect the values that we uphold, when our communication stays consistent under pressure over time. And this is where true leadership is revealed, right? In moments of pressure, in bad times when our true characters come up. And really, character for me, I always love the line of character is who you are when no one is watching. And so even though no one may be watching you and in what you're inputting into AI, character is still the thing that we will always have when the lights go off, when AI stops working, or we close our laptops at night. It's who we go to sleep with and to bed with every night. And so this is where I believe AI will not be able to replace us, because of the character that we can't fake and that it can't truly pick up on to absolutely replicate us and the feelings and the emotions that we have as part of our character. Now, the third and final C of what I believe AI can't replace for us as humans, and where we need to use this as a competitive advantage, is connection. And this is probably the most important one of all the three C's, because this is what we need as human beings to be healthy, to stay sane, to ultimately find shared meaning and value in life. It's connection to ourselves and connection to others. And while AI can stimulate an incredible conversation, it cannot create felt connection that you know what I mean when I say that certain goosebumps when you have a conversation with someone, that certain energy or magnetism that you get from someone. It cannot be replaced by AI. For me, connection comes from emotional intelligence and presence and energy that you feel from someone. It's from listening. It's from having conversation back and forth. It's about following your tuition and kind of reading the room when you're with a group of people. And we love being herd animals as human beings. It's just a natural part of our biology that ultimately we want to be with others, and we want to connect with others to feel safe for survival. And this is something that AI can't yet do, but I don't think it's ever going to be able to do. You know, people don't trust brands or algorithms. They actually trust people. And that's why when people behind the social media accounts, behind our screens, and that's why when you're in real life, in person, that still matters so much, because it's the genuine connection that people, that we as human beings bring to the forefront, that builds ultimately trust and connection. And communication and relating to connection is that bridge of how you listen, how you respond, how you show empathy, how you make people feel seen, heard, and validated, which is so incredibly important in communication. So those 3 C's, creativity, character, and connection, are the 3 C's and the reason why I don't think we're going to be replaced by AI. But those are the 3 C's that are our competitive advantage as business owners, as content creators, as YouTubers, as leaders and entrepreneurs. We need these 3 things, and we need to keep bringing these 3 things to the forefront when we're working on our branding, our marketing, writing our content, creating videos, because that's ultimately the creativity, the character, and the way that we connect is how we're showing others that they can trust us and they can work with us, that we can add value to them, and ultimately that they can buy and sell from us. So why does this all come back to communication? Because without creativity, you get ideas, but with no impact. Without connection or character, you get, you get invisibility. You don't truly get a human being there. You may get AI there, but you don't get that full lived experience of a human. And communication doesn't work, or it's not effective without connection, because there's misunderstanding. There's not the feeling and empathy and emotion that we need in order to respond to someone's magnetic energy and make them feel seen, heard, and understood in order to connect truly with someone. And a lot of this comes back to clarity about intention and about consistency over time of how we continually maintain and keep up creativity or character and connection in everything we do. And this is where, in the age of AI, your voice is the differentiator when you use creativity, bring forth your character and that authenticity that you have as only you, and that one lived experience of who you are, and the way that you connect, whether you're funny, whether you smile, whether you always have a stern face, look on your face when you're communicating, the value you bring, how you talk, how fast you talk, your pace. Those 3 things will be the competitive advantage of what makes your voice a differentiating factor that AI will never replace. So again, like I said, AI won't replace creativity, character, or connection, and that has to be your competitive advantage. People will give these away when they're working with AI. So you want to be intentional when you're using it as a tool. You want to be able to rise in the era of AI and use it, but use it only where you know it's going to serve you best, and where you can keep your competitive advantage around creativity, your character, and connection as the 3 main C's of how you differentiate yourself. Now, I'd love to hear from you now that we finished this video, of which of the 3 C's that you want to double down on this year, whether it comes to creativity, your character, or connection, and how you're going to portray that, display that, integrate that, write that into your content, in creating your videos, and showing up as a leader at, in your, how you influence and how you then run your business. Drop it in your comments. I'd love to hear what you think of those 3 C's, what one of those C's you're going to be doubling down on this year. And if you want more content on communication, confidence, and leadership after listening to this video, hit subscribe below. I'd love to keep the conversation up with you.